I don't beat myself up anymore for not always being perfect. That's not reality. I just always remember that. Win the next meal.
66, I'm 67. I really was not consuming enough protein for somebody my age. That was a big aha. So for me, I feel a lot stronger. Looking at her, she's amazing. I mean, she's always been amazing. She's always strong.
I love doing deadlifts. I can't imagine not having a supportive spouse.
She's really competitive.
You guys look phenomenal. Like you could be on a cover of like a freaking fitness magazine. All right, little interruption before we get into the podcast. Did you know that over 60% of you that listen to this show regularly aren't subscribed to the channel? So if you could do me a favor and click on the subscribe button, because it really helps the channel grow and really helps me get bigger guests on the show and helps me elevate the quality of the show. So again, I run these episodes ad-free for that reason, because I want to give you the best experience possible without any interruption. So this is my little interruption right here. So if you could do me a favor and subscribe, click on the notification bell so you can be notified when the episode goes live. I appreciate it very much. Enjoy the episode. All right, Gary, Linda, welcome to the show. How are you both doing today?
Excellent.
Good, thank you.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited that we get to record. I was just at the gym earlier and I was like, I think it's going to be a beautiful conversation. It's the only podcast to record today. And I was like, so I want to go in depth into both of your journeys and how you've been able to do that together, because you guys have inspired a lot of members in the program, especially doing it together. And so I'd like to kind of kick it off with each of your individual journey as to, who you are, what do you do, and what brought you to the place that you're like, I want to optimize myself, 6 months ago when we met at the NHA. So you want to kick off with Linda?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I'm a nurse, and back in 2004, I was trying to figure out what to do to prevent heart disease for myself, because in my family, my dad had a couple bypass surgeries. My brother had a heart attack when he was 50, and I wanted to prevent that from happening to me. In my realm has kind of mostly been cardiology, and I've worked in emergency departments, and I see a lot of people at young ages look very old. And so I just didn't want that to happen. And so I came across Dr. Joel Fuhrman's first book in 2004, Eat to Live. And I read that. I was at an American Heart Association conference down in New Orleans, ate my last steak there, came home, told Gary that I was going to do this. And he immediately said, okay, and was on board from day one. We were more vegetarian at the time. I mean, at home, we were pretty much vegan, but once in a while going out would, eat cheese or fish or that kind of thing. But in 2011, we watched Forks Over Knives, and that was kind of the culmination of really getting rid of kind of the cheese and fish in our diet. So
yeah. So the light bulb kind of turned on almost 2 decades ago in 2004, where of like, hey, we need to consider changing how we're eating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. And so Gary, on your side, what were you thinking of when Linda came home? She's like, we're doing this.
Well, the first thing I thought of was, I mean, Linda's really smart. We've been married a long time. We actually met in the hospital. I was working nights as an orderly and a certified nursing assistant while I was going to school. And I'd get to see her in action in code blues and different things. And I thought, she's really smart. She thinks things through and she does her research. So when she came back from this conference and talked about that, I thought, okay, this is something that's important to her. And I know she didn't make decisions just, willy-nilly. She's thought through it. And I thought, if she's going to be successful, I need to do it with her. But the thing that I told her, I said, I don't know how to cook this way. I mean, I could grill and do different things on the griddle and stuff in the kitchen. And she said, don't worry about it. She'd do the cooking. I said, okay, well, I'm on board. And that started the journey. And then, she was into a lot of different podcasts and we went to different conferences together. And the more that I learned, the more that it really supported. It's like, this is the right thing to do, not only for our health, but for many factors, the environment, animal rights, just all across the board. And it's been really fun. We've gotten to know some great people. We joined NHA. That's where I met you for the first time. And and even through NHA, we've gone on a lot of different trips. They have the NHA travel. So we've met lots of really fun people who eat the way that we do. And it's been fantastic.
Yeah. So with NHA, I think they do trips with World Vegan Travel, right? I know they kind of schedule a few travels around the world. It's like a fully vegan, whole food, plant-based trip.
Yeah, they've done those with World Vegan Travel. They also have partnered with Windstar Cruise Line.
Okay.
And I think they've done a phenomenal job of putting this together. It's been Wanda from NHA has just worked really super hard, and they've done a great job. It's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing to add, though, before any of this, the very first time he asked me out on a date, he took me to a gym. Now, I grew up on a farm.
I was setting the tone for the relationship right there.
But I mean, I grew up on a farm. You didn't exercise, you did life, which was a lot of work and that kind of thing. So I'd never, other than high school, which I hated, I'd never stepped foot in a gym before. And that was the first thing that out of the hospital that we did together was go to the gym. So the writing was on the wall, I think.
Yeah, that's amazing. Gary, did you grow up in a city?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I grew up on a farm too, and we didn't have a gym. You baled some hay, shoveled some cow shit. So that's interesting. But it did set the tone for your relationship and for the place that you're in now today.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm curious. So when we met in NHA, this was my first time attending. Obviously, had heard of it. I had been in contact with Wanda before, and we were able to have a great conversation at the booth with Ivy. What was it that made you guys decide to want to work with us, to ultimately want to change how you were doing things?
Well, it was funny because I saw your booth in the hallway at one point, but then in the morning I went in the hotel gym. I don't know if you remember that. And I saw you in there working out, and there weren't enough weights. So you actually put weights on top of the treadmill and you were lifting the treadmill. And I thought, this guy, he's pretty serious about his workout. And I think for me, I was really looking, Linda and I, after we worked out for a number of years, we've had coaches, we've been in different type of gyms and different things. But as I've gotten older, I noticed that it seemed to be harder to maintain my strength and my muscle mass. And so for me, it was like, I want to maintain my strength. I don't want to start to lose, lean muscle mass. There's got to be something that I'm doing that I could be doing differently, even though I've been eating totally clean, but I felt like I wasn't getting stronger. So then when we chatted with you and I found out from you that first I asked about the demographic of the people that you coach, because I thought, we're way too old. Linda's, can I say how old you are?
Yeah.
Okay, 66.
Yeah, it's going to be in the intro.
And, so as a 67-year-old, I didn't know. It's like, the gym next door that we go to, they've got some coaches there and they're younger and they know nothing about plant-based. And I don't think they really understand real well what people in our demographic need as we age. So when I asked you that question and then you told me, that your average or your span of your clients is like 40 to 80, I thought, okay, this is it. Somebody who is plant-based, somebody who gets it. I really want to give this a try.
Yeah, no, it is always interesting because when people look at me, they look at my age and, covered in tattoos and they're like, oh, he's working with some 30-year-old group. And I was like, nah, they're not fun to work with. Like, you guys actually care more about your health and you're actually willing to put in the effort. And now the range has shifted to go all the way up to 86 because we got Pam. I don't know if you guys were on the group call with Pam, but she's like, you got to adjust your numbers. I'm 80. I just turned 86. So now we go all the way up to
That's
86. Yeah. And so that was a conversation between the both of you of like, we want to, so for you, Gary, was strength. What was it for you, Linda, that made you want to?
Well, a couple of things. Number one is weight loss. I have, been in this plant-based world for a long time and following, a lot of the big names, Chef AJ and a lot of the, the plant-based doctors. But I wasn't losing weight anymore, and I hadn't gained any, but I wasn't losing any. And the other thing is just for me, when we used to have a personal trainer for 5 years, worked with them twice a week for 5 years, was great. We did CrossFit. I always had a plan for me where once that went away, I still was doing my virtual reality workouts, and those are good, but they're more just cardio. And so I'd go over to the gym and I felt like a fraud because I didn't have a plan. And so it's, I'll do a few of these and a few of these. And I knew a lot of different exercises after working with the trainer for 5 years. But as far as a real plan and not doing the same thing all the time. So I needed a plan because I had stopped going just because it was boring. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a plan. And so I was excited to work with you guys to get a plan. And now it's 4 days a week, and it's just not a matter of, gosh, should we go today? It's like, okay, these are the days, and this is how I work the rest of my life around our workouts instead of the other way around.
Yeah. So I definitely want to dive into both of your journeys as to how this progression went, but just to kind of go over the stats, right? I pulled them up this morning. All right. So Gary, you went from 18.3% body fat down to 12.8. You went from basically 155 pounds to 143 pounds. That's a proper shift in body composition, like 12 pounds and almost 6% body fat. Linda, you went from 38% to 28%, so a 10% drop in body fat. Went from 172 to 151. So 21-pound fat loss.
Well, the 172, now that was after being in the San Juans for a week.
Yeah.
And it was like the day after. Yeah, it was so my real beginning weight was 165, not that, because that was just that one. And the next day I was down. So that was just a day of travel, eating out for a full week.
A 14-pound body recomposition and a significant drop in body fat percentage.
Yeah.
And that's under 6 months, because we met at the end of June.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And by the time we're recording this, you guys are about to finish the 6-month mark. Your 6 phase, basically.
Yeah, we didn't officially start the program until mid-July. I think July 15th or July 17th.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in accomplishing these great results, I'm curious what were some of the tools that were provided to you guys that made it easy to start to build some momentum, and what you noticed that was different from what you were doing prior to starting?
Well, for me, I think the tools that help me build momentum, I like the workouts, the structure of the workouts. Nick is our trainer. He's our coach. And I know that all the coaches do this. So you have a rotation so you don't get bored with it, and it keeps building. And so every week you can look ahead, see what you're going to be doing. I like the way that, because we travel a lot, so you can even look ahead and think, okay, well, that's going to be a travel day. Maybe I'm going to have that my day off and move my workout day somewhere else. So you can move things around on your calendar. So I'm very visual. And so it's nice to be able to have that full plan. Also the tools, as far as this is how many calories I should have, and this is how much protein I should have. I never paid attention to that before. I wasn't ever really totally concerned about my weight. But when I started to look at it and get this information, I really was not consuming enough protein for somebody my age to be doing what I'm doing. And so that was a big aha. So that's been really helpful. And just to have that push, I was continuing to work out, but, without any kind of a structure around it. Go over there, go through the motions. But now I actually have, like Linda was saying, a plan and really pushing myself to achieve that next. So for me, I feel a lot stronger. I feel like my balance is improving again. It's been good. And Linda won't say this, but looking at her, she's amazing. She's always been amazing. She's always strong, but her body just really looks different. She's over at the gym and she is like rocking it. Like, boy, she is really buff. It's amazing. So anyway, I'll let you answered it.
What else to say? No.
Sorry.
That's a beautiful compliment.
Yeah. What was the original question? I just kind of almost
Yeah. No worries. So basically, I asked, like, what were some of the tools when you started that helped you build some momentum,
Okay.
and what was different in starting in terms of strategy compared to what you're doing prior to starting in the program?
Okay, so there was a plan. And again, that's, I think, just really important is to actually have a plan. And the way Nick designed it, initially was, a lot of reps, lower weights, and now it's, we're building on that. And so I just think having a plan in before I didn't, that's what was different is I didn't have a plan. I'd go over and I wouldn't want to go where all the free weights were because that's where those people who belong there were. And I just kind of would go and do some machines and do some, dumbbell type things. And now it's like, I love doing deadlifts. I mean, it's, versus a lot of the different squats. I'm doing squats again too, because those I never liked to do, but now I have to do them. And so it's good to get back into that, doing the things that I don't really like to do, but are still good for me. And so it's in the plan, and the plan's a plan, and you just got to do it. So.
Yeah. So what were some of the initial changes that you guys noticed when you started? Was there like a mind muscle connection? Potentially the strength came up, the mobility. Was it more energy? Were you hungry? Were you not hungry? I'm curious as to what was the initial body's response to being into the program for a month or two.
Well, I don't recall ever really feeling hungry. Even though I think you go into what's called the calorie deficit, but I mean, I think the foods that we're eating and the plan that you guys put together, was fine for me. I didn't ever feel hungry. I felt like at the gym, I started to have, I think, more enthusiasm around it. I mean, I always go, but now it was kind of like, okay, I feel like there's a plan. I want to see this develop. I think, tracking our weight every day, tracking your measurements weekly, started to, that was kind of exciting again to have that to look at.
See the progression.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, beautiful. All right. Yeah. Linda, anything on your side that you might have noticed in changes? Did you always love deadlifts?
When I used to do them in CrossFit, yes, I liked them there too. I don't know. I think because for some reason I can do a little bit more weight. And it's not above my head. I've always been, just doing things. I mean, that's harder for me. So I think my legs are stronger than my arms at this point. So it's harder for me to do, the overhead things. So yeah, it's nice to be back doing more of the Olympic lifting again that I enjoy. And the other thing I notice is I did get a little hungry, and I still do once in a while. And just eating different things. Like I was a McDougler, lots of starch, potatoes, rice. And now I've always ate tons of vegetables. I mean, I used to eat broccoli for breakfast. And now one thing that was hard for me to get used to was using the protein powders to make sure I'm getting enough protein. So instead of doing a shake, use less water and make pudding because I like to eat versus drink all my calories kind of thing. So that's been a little bit different, but yeah, it's going well.
Yeah. So the composition of your meals have shifted, right?
Yeah.
Because you guys were basically doing the, I don't say necessarily that, but like eat as much as you want as long as it's whole food plant based. Mm-hmm. It's going to be healthy and everything will kind of take care of itself, which, like you mentioned earlier, it got you guys to be in a really healthy place, but there was no regression, but there was no progression. You were just kind of in that place.
Right.
And we had to kind of come in and put a plan in place to optimize you and bring you to that next level, which then shifted how you structured the nutrition.
Right. And focusing more on getting the protein instead of just not worrying about it.
Yeah, because, well, you both know about sarcopenia. Like as you get older, there's the faster decrease in lean muscle tissue. And so strength training becomes even more important. And then the recovery component to repair the muscle tissue from the strength training is even more important than when you're 20 and 30 years old. And so getting the protein as you're getting older makes a significant difference in the recovery process in terms of preserving and building lean muscle, which, when you've been used to eating higher fruits and vegetables and starch and carbohydrate without awareness on the protein, it is a little bit of a shift to be like, I should throw in some tofu in there or some beans, potentially a scoop of protein powder in there. But eventually you get used to it.
Yeah.
What do you think has contributed to both of your success in being able to accomplish such great results? And I'm not looking for a tap on the back for Fit Vegan. Like, I'm more curious as to, like, in terms of you guys and in your life, what do you think has helped?
No, I really do think it is. It has been the Fit Vegan program, though. I mean, you've got several times a week we can jump on a call. You can Zoom. You can see other people. You can talk to them about their journey or hear their questions. You and the coaches have some amazing information. I mean, it's really good information. It's always fun to look. We look forward to those calls when we can get on it. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think being able to do it together too. I mean, I know throughout our lives that other people who don't have a supportive spouse, or even spouses who try to sabotage, eating healthy and activity and exercise and that kind of thing. And we've always just, that's been a part of us doing it together. And I think that's a real benefit. I mean, it's been great. I can't imagine not having a supportive spouse, but I know that's just some people's reality, which is sad. But being able to do it together.
And Linda makes it very easy for me because, I mean, literally we're measuring everything. And, so, I mean, we'll talk through and then, we'll have something to eat and then, she'll tell me give me the list of everything that's in there. And I'm looking at my phone and loading it in there. But Linda does all the cooking and she's an amazing cook. So she, that's, again, a lot of people don't have that luxury to have somebody who is making food that tastes amazing and is within the program guidelines. So that's been easy for me, I guess. Everybody needs a Linda. That's what I think.
Exactly. That's a pretty good deal. I guess as you were sharing that, I was just wondering, like, who kicked whose butt the most often to get to the gym and stay on track with the nutrition?
Well, nutrition-wise, I mean, I just kind of like, this is what and I always tell them, I said, now, if you get tired of this, because our dinners are pretty simple. It's like, in going to the store, I mean, I don't have to write a list because I basically go into Costco, bag of broccoli, bag of cauliflower, some celery, some peppers, and just kind of the standard things. And dinners are sauteed veggies and some tofu in the air fryer. And I love Trader Joe's super protein, the high protein, super firm tofu. We each get half of that in the air fryer with some veggies. And that's pretty, I mean, I do some of the other things, but then they turn out to be a lot more calories. And so this is a way of getting lots of vegetables and then the tofu,
So something you may not know about Linda, but Nick knows, is that she's really competitive. So what's fun is that, I mean, we really don't have to push each other to do anything. I mean, it's like, we've got the goal set for the week. We've got this number of workouts or these daily habits. It's like, she is going to do it and, we're going to do it. And so, and I think we've always had, over the years now really developed some really good habits. So it's not like a big shift for us to be focusing on our health. I mean, we're all going to die at some point, but we've really wanted to look at our health span. And so in the years that we have, however many those may be, we want to optimize our health. And this is, we've done many things to try to optimize our health. And this is one of the things that we feel has really done, I mean, from kind of all aspects, from a feeling of community and information, the physical aspect, the lifting of the weights, the nutritional aspect. I mean, it's ticking all the boxes. So it's been really fun. So it's not been tough for us. I know that's different for everybody, but again, I think having the luxury of having, a spouse that we're on the same page makes it really easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys traveled a lot as well during the past 6 months. You had a few trips.
Oh yeah.
So every time that I do these podcasts, which you guys have listened to before, I always like to ask: was there any moments of where you went off track, right? Where you were less than ideal with your nutrition, less than ideal with training, just because life happened? Was there ever any of those moments that happened throughout your 6 months?
Oh
And
sure. I
how
mean,
did you navigate them?
what we try to do in advance when we're planning a trip is when, especially if we have the opportunity to book the hotels, we're always looking at hotels and we find the hotel based on the gym, really. It's like, does it have a good
Hey, I
gym?
do that too.
Yeah. And then some other things, it's like, bringing the stretch bands to try to do it. So I think our workouts, we've always been pretty good about it. There was like one time the gym turned out to be kind of, and so I was doing some of the work in our hotel room with our carry-on luggage, but it was like planning. And but as far as eating, when you're traveling, we have what is that?
Blend.
Blend jet. So we can, go to a store, go to the grocery store, get some fruits, whatever, blend those up in some protein powder. But when you're going out to eat a lot, even though you're eating vegan food, it's like we didn't know, you don't know what's in there. So it was really hard to
Yeah.
count the macros. So that was where I would say getting off track. And for us, off track means, because usually we don't do salt, oil, or sugar either. So getting off
Yeah.
track for us when we travel means that the restaurant we ate at probably used more oil or oil, that we're not used to, or sugar or whatever. But we've never gone hog wild and gone out and had like, I don't think we've done that, but it's not been as clean as we'd like to.
Yeah.
But it's like that's life. We just do the best we can, and when we're able to eat clean again, do it. The trips that NHA puts together make that totally easy because they're all whole food, plant based, sugar, oil, and salt free. So you're just eating totally pure on those when you're with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for you, Linda?
Well, just I think when we know we're going to be eating out that much, we try to, still keep in mind, because it used to be where you always felt like when you went out to eat, that was kind of your license to have whatever, and
Yeah.
now, it's a little different mindset, and just making sure then that, usually breakfast is, just a protein shake, something like lower calorie, but higher protein, and really, looking at menus ahead of time to see, and doing the best you can, and once in a while just kind of like not worrying about it and just enjoying the moment, and knowing that tomorrow it's back to the usual and stuff. So I don't beat myself up anymore for not always being perfect, because that's just not like that's not reality. So but it's just win the next meal. I just always remember that. Win the next meal.
Yeah.
Well, the app that you have for the Fit Vegan app, I mean, what's nice about it, so we can take a picture of the food when we're out and take a picture of the menu and then come back and then go into the app and try to figure out, pretty easily, getting very close to, okay, this is what was in it. This is about how much we think was in it. And, to have that calculate for us. So that does make things simple too.
Yeah. So the aspect of not beating yourself up and being able to basically allow yourself to enjoy yourself when you're at the restaurant, with within reason of wanting to be healthy and making some progression towards your goal, like we said, not going crazy and ordering 2 extra large pizzas, but eating out but making good decisions.
Well, I don't think you ever was like my, different mindset, because he's never been really
Yeah.
overweight, and I've always been, I'm not morbidly obese, but always been a little overweight. So for me, that whole thing has always been, feeling like, I blew it again. Why can't I get this? I used to help counsel patients. I was a virtual cardiac rehab nurse for a couple years. And so counseling patients on the same thing you guys do. I mean, that was my job the last year and a half of my career. And, so I would always it's easy to work with somebody and try to counsel them, but then doing it yourself is a little bit different, at least for me. So, I think it's just a mindset that it's like, this is a forever thing. And it's not like a diet that you go on and off. This is just a lifestyle. And so if it's not perfect, yep. So what else is new? I mean, it's just to move on, so yeah.
And I think the coaches, like, you've done this, Nick has, I mean, all the other coaches, I've heard you all say this too. And, you really give the strong message. It's like, don't beat yourself up. I mean, none of us are perfect. And, just get back on track tomorrow. Don't feel like you have to, go into deficit tomorrow because of something you did today. Just start over again. And I think it's that mentality of you and the coaches in the program that really help us to, like, yeah, I mean, because again, if you don't do it that way, people are going to give up because, like, I can't do this forever. I mean, I'm not going to be perfect forever. It's like, no, we're not. And even before we got into the program, I mean, that was our philosophy too. It's like, there's going to be times that we're going to go out and, we're at a party or something and somebody serves something and, yeah, I bet there's a whole lot of sugar in that thing or whatever. And it's like, well, we do the best we can. So,
yeah, without feeling restricted. So there's what you guys are doing right now. Obviously, once you kind of wrap up reverse dieting, it'll be kind of like a different conversation because metabolism will have increased. You'll be able to kind of consume more food. But does this approach to nutrition and exercise feel sustainable, like something you guys can maintain for the next 10, 20, 30 years?
Oh,
absolutely.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy
I want both of you guys to doing. I want both of you guys to be doing deadlifts and chin-ups at 95. That's my expectation.
Well, I don't know about those dang chin-ups or pull-ups. Those things that's a different thing.
She's getting there. No, I think it's been really easy, and I think it's getting easier for us too as we plan. We're always looking ahead at the menus of different things, and just like looking ahead at the holidays. And it's like, okay, we're going to go to my sister's house. This is how we don't eat that way. What are we going to bring? So there's no surprises, and it's just kind of building into our lifestyle. So it's not, we don't get ourselves in a situation where it's like, oh my gosh, there's nothing to eat, or this is going to be hard. So. Yeah, I think we can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously you guys are doing great, got great results. Like, so for me, your coaches kind of handle each of your transformations, right? So when I go do the podcast, I go in and I look at the profile and I'll peek from time to time. You guys look phenomenal. Like, you could be on a cover of like a freaking fitness magazine. You guys both look super lean. I was like at the photos, I was going, Nick, I was like, God damn, they look great. I was like, good job, Nick. And obviously good job to you guys. But I was looking at your photos like, damn, all right. Yeah, you guys crushed it, like genuinely. And people will see it on the cover of this video on YouTube. Basically, they'll see your crazy transformation. That's a great one. How does it? When's the last time you guys were this fit?
Well, I would say about when we moved out west for work, and then we had a personal trainer, and then we were also part of a CrossFit gym. So we're doing CrossFit and had a personal trainer, but that's been. I think that was about 14, 15 years ago.
I think for me, it was 2012 when I was running a lot. And so the weight just kind of, I mean, I didn't change. I was still eating, whole food, plant-based. And we were doing the inaugural rock and roll half marathon in Portland. And that's the one and only half I've ever done. And I've never liked to run, really. But that was really a lot of fun. And so I think training for that got me in kind of my best shape of my life.
Yeah.
So we'll try to get back. I'm almost there again.
Yeah. So about 20 years for you, Linda, and about 14 years for you, Gary. The last time you guys were this fit.
Yeah. So, and I'm lifting now when I'm paying attention to what I'm lifting. And I'm back at what I could lift about 14, 15 years ago, which for me, that was my goal. That's, I don't know what other people's goals are, but for me, that says a lot about the program, that I can, be deadlifting and bench pressing what I was when I was so much younger.
Well, hey, it is impressive that both of you got back to that place. But the element that I find even more impressive, and is what I liked about how we built everything, is you used to do a ton of CrossFit to be in that kind of shape, and you used to run a ton to be in that kind of shape. Do you guys train as much now as you did back then?
No.
It's a
No.
fraction of the training.
Yeah, and that's what,
Yeah.
when I remember you talking about that at the beginning, and I thought, how's this going to work? We're not going to, because it used to be, I was running and we were walking and weightlifting and doing virtual reality. I mean, we were just doing a lot of things and not feeling like there was getting the progress that we really wanted to. So that's the other thing that I feel really good about it. It's sustainable. I mean, we asked for a 4-day-a-week workout because that's just what we wanted to do. And really it's, we put in an hour a day, and that includes our stretching and everything. And we can get that in and have all this other time for the things that we're, doing as retired people. So yeah, it is, it's been great.
Because we used to do CrossFit it's 6 a.m. We'd do CrossFit before work, and then twice a week work with the trainer.
After
and then
work.
Once in a while, I would also go to the Lifetime Fitness, or is that what it was? I don't know the big box gym out in Portland. So yeah, lots of.
And then running when we could.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the fun part that I think most people don't understand is always have this goal to go back to the last time they were very fit, but I would say 99% of the time they were doing a lot of exercise. Like they were spending a lot of time moving around, and now you're doing 4 times a week, but we're just being efficient with the training. We're being efficient with the nutrition, and you guys mentioned catching up to 14, 20 years ago in terms of fitness on a fraction of the exercise. Like to me, that's sustainability. To me, that's balance. Because if you have to train an hour to 2 hours every single day to be in that type of shape, some days you don't want to exercise an hour or two. Right. Some days you just want to rest. You just want to relax. You just want to go on a trip.
Yeah.
So outside of the physical changes, any other changes that happened that you weren't expecting or that were nice surprises? You guys have to go shopping for clothes yet?
Not yet. Soon, though.
You have.
I've gotten some new things.
She has shopped for clothes. She looks fabulous. So yes.
I'm not sure how to answer that.
Yeah. Awesome. So like energy's pretty much the same. Has that improved? Has sleep improved? Has there been any other changes? And physical changes are great, but I'm just curious.
I think I sleep better. I don't wake up. I mean, I still wake up during the night once in a while, but I don't have trouble getting back to sleep. So, and I fall asleep very quickly, as Linda can attest to.
Sleep. But I think energy, I mean, I feel like I have more energy than, I did before. So, it's good.
Good. I just thought about that. Have you guys ever worked with someone online before? Because it seems like all your experiences were more like in person in gym.
No, they were in person. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of them were in person. So we never did the online. So that was one thing. At first, I wasn't sure how that was going to be. How accessible is the coach and how successful we'll be, because we're used to having somebody there. But
yeah. So I was going to say, like, was there any like worries or concern with doing this online? Just because, as you guys know, we work typically with people between, 50 and up to 86 now. And a lot of time there's a fear of getting injured during exercise, or they potentially are not familiar with working with someone online for training and for nutrition. So was there like any concern or apprehension? And I'm curious as to like how those were addressed for you guys.
I don't remember feeling, like real apprehensive about it. It was going to be different. But what I like is, and for those that haven't done this, you don't only get the list of the exercises, but for each exercise, you can click on a video. And it's either you or somebody else in the video going step-by-step instructions on how to do this properly so that you don't get injured. And I mean, that's really helpful. Also on the app, and we haven't used it, but you can film yourself and then send it to your coach, and then your coach can give you feedback. I think you've done that. You've asked your coach a couple questions on.
I've asked questions, but not specific. I haven't sent them because it's like, sometimes it's just like, this just isn't pretty, but, yeah, I think having that access, but like a couple of times I've had, like a shoulder all of a sudden that's just wonky, and it's like, what the heck happened here? And so, I'll just send a message to Nick and he'll say, well, do this, try these stretches, or like a sciatica that all of a sudden just like came from out of the blue. And it's just been nice because he's very accessible, and I can put something in there and he's like, well, what about this? Or, try this stretch, and, and kind of work me through that so that I wasn't, continuing to injure myself, because, when you're doing something and it's painful, then you're obviously doing either something wrong or something is wrong, and you need to, not continue in that. And so he's been able to kind of walk me through that so that I don't, really injure myself. Because I don't consider any of those things injuries. They're just niggles, just like little twangs that, just need to be worked out. So
I will say, with the coaches that we've worked with in the past, and personal trainers and things, and we don't know all the coaches in your program, but we've worked with you and Nick, that you and Nick are by far more knowledgeable and much. I'm not saying, well,
be careful.
I got to be careful. I would say just great information, incredibly smart. I mean, listening to you, and then, we can ask Nick questions, and he just knows, he really understands the body. And so if there's anybody that has any doubts, you talk to you or listen to you and Nick for a while. It's like, these guys know what they're doing. I mean, it's not like going to a gym and sometimes there's personal trainers that are available, and I'm not knocking that, but I don't think all personal trainers are equal.
Have master's degrees like Nick.
And really understand, what you need to be doing, but also taking into consideration the age of the individual, and in our situation, the diet of the individual. So it's been great.
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, Nick does have his master's in kinesiology and sports performance. He's very knowledgeable, and very grateful to have brought him on the team. I've been keeping him to myself. He's been my coach for 8 years. And I was like, okay, Nick, like let's bring you to my world, man.
He's so funny. It just is fun to, talk to him and listen to him. And it's like, so, I mean, we enjoy just having interactions with him because he's just such a funny guy, and just
bubbly person.
Bubbly, but just such a positive attitude. Like really positive attitude. And it's just really uplifting and encouraging.
Yeah. I've never met anyone that's been upset or mad leaving an interaction with Nick. I've personally never seen Nick angry in all of the years that I've known him. He's just always been happy and bubbly, and just always willing to help, and has a big heart to serve, which is why I was very happy to bring him on the team. So I would love to ask for some piece of advice for the people listening from you guys. All right. So when you came in, did you guys listen to some of the Fit Vegan success stories before you came in to the program? Listen to a few of them.
Well, there was a video that I think when we first signed up, I think Alex sent us like an onboarding video. I'm trying to remember. In the onboarding video, weren't there a couple of success stories there? Or
yeah, there was a couple in there as well. Yeah. And so, now you guys are one of the Fit Vegan success story episodes. So I would love to kind of ask some questions to pass on wisdom to the people that are listening. So some people listening are potentially beginner in the program. They're considering doing the program, or they're on their own journey and they're wanting to improve. So I'm curious as to what piece of advice you would pass off to them in terms of things that were the most impactful for you in your specific journey.
I think for me, I think what was important is, because I was doing things kind of the way that I was doing them. I was doing things my way, and I wasn't getting results. I mean, I thought I was eating clean, which I was, and then doing the workouts and everything. But advice that I would have is like, okay, so if you're in this program, or if you're even considering the program, obviously something isn't where you want it to be. So trust the process, trust the program. I mean, you really have to trust the individuals that are, available to you, not only your coach, but the other coaches that are available because there's so much information. I mean, all those calls, there's all the podcasts that you do. There's, there's just a lot of resources of information. So it's like, use it, utilize the program, reach out, to your coaches, the rest of the community. There's the tribe that you can get involved in. I mean, there's so much available. So I would be concerned if somebody joins the program and then says, well, but I don't want to do that, or I don't want to count this, or it seems like it's putsy to count the macro, or I don't want to. It's like, well, then why, do you really want the results? If you really want the results, then listen. And, and we're lifelong learners. I mean, and that's just who we are. I mean, it's like in our jobs and everything, we never feel like we know everything. It's, we're always looking at other people and trying to find out. It's like, who else in this room can help us solve this problem? Or, more brains are better than one. And so you've got that with the Fit Vegan coaching. That would be my advice, I guess. So,
yeah. As far as me, so in 4 months, we're all going to be 4 months older, and we'll be at that point. And you're going to be there regardless of what you do between now and then. But how you feel in 4 months is going to be what are you going to do in the meantime? And so I think for people who, it's like put off getting started. You've talked a lot about that, putting off getting started. And it's like, January 1st is going to be there regardless of if you're working out or not. So why not get on board now and start the process? There are no shortcuts. I mean, that's the other thing too, is there's no shortcuts to success. People don't just wake up when people talk about overnight successes. Well, that's never true. There's a lot of hard work that go into success, whether it's building a business like you have, or working out, getting more fit, that kind of thing. So there's no shortcuts, and enjoy the process. I mean, it's a journey, and there's not a destination necessarily, but there's a journey. And I think just having that mindset,
that's a good point.
Important.
Enjoying the process.
Yeah, enjoy the process.
There was a lecture that we were in once, and I remember the speaker saying that, if you owned a Ferrari, a really expensive car, and, would you put off maintaining it? Would you, put, cheap gasoline in it, or would you not do the regular maintenance on it? I mean, people who own that kind of vehicle are going to, really put into it to make sure that it's maintained well. But yet, a lot of us as human beings don't pay attention to our bodies in that same way. I mean, we pay attention to stuff, or, things that we want to have, and nice furniture, car, house, whatever. But it's like, them shifting that mindset to, we need to invest in ourselves. I mean, our health is more important than, if we don't have our health, and you don't have you can't do anything. So I think that's an important piece. Sorry, I'm rambling on.
No, it's beautiful. I'm taking it in, and I love what you said earlier of people coming in and saying, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. That's exactly why we have the application call at the beginning. It's because we'll turn around like 30 to 40% of people that book those calls, just because it's like, hey, I don't think you're ready to take this on. Like, it's going to be hard. It's going to require some challenge, right? I didn't fly to you guys' house and eat the kale for you and do the push-ups for you guys and the squats. You did your own squats. You did your own meal prep. You ate all the food, right? You've put in the effort to be in a position that you're in. And yeah, that's right. Like, people that potentially haven't seen you guys for the past 6 months will see you now and I'll be like, Gary, Linda, you've changed overnight. You were like, well, I've done 4 workouts a week for the past 6 months, and I've meal prepped every single week to be able to be in this position. Right? Like, to you, it looks like it's overnight, but like, you've put in the reps, you've put in the work for it. Mm-hmm. If someone is on the fence of committing to themselves for transforming, So think of potentially you guys before potentially you went vegan and you started this active lifestyle. All right. So say I know you were working out, but transitioning to veganism of wanting to actually improve your health, what is something that you can pass on to them, or a message you'd like to give them, to that younger version of yourself that is on the fence of like, I should actually take my health seriously. I should actually start exercising and eating plant-based. What would you say to them?
Well, I would say to them, pay attention to some of the people around you. I mean, just in our lives, as you see other people and who haven't really taken good care of themselves, and as people age, we've seen people with just all sorts of health issues. And both of us working in healthcare our whole lives, we've seen that and seen people who are our age who look so much older. And even when I turned 40, which was a long time ago, I'm 67, but noticing that other contemporaries, it's like, wow, what happened to them? So it's, you start letting yourself, if you stop paying attention to your health, it's easy to go downhill and just to be on that, kind of to have that snowball. And I think too, it's also pay attention to who you hang out with. It's going to be really tough if you're hanging out with a bunch of people who think exercise is a bunch of BS, or if you're hanging out with people who eat junk and who aren't taking good care of themselves and aren't having healthy lifestyles. It's so much easier when you start finding other people who are like-minded and who you can enjoy, and you don't have to explain why you want to do this with, for. But that you can be supportive of each other and do fun things and start doing things together, like, walking and exercising and traveling. And, a younger version of me to look ahead, and it's like, we're doing the things that we had hoped we could do in retirement. Had we not paid attention to our health, we could be going on all these travels and doing hikes and swimming and just, being as active as we are. And there's a lot of people our age who aren't. And it's really sad that you would let your life go to that point where you can no longer enjoy it, or you can't enjoy it to the full capacity that I think that we have the opportunity to do. So
That's good.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, as you're sharing that, it makes me think of, that's why I love working with people that are over 50, because, fortunately and unfortunately, they've had friends that have gotten sick, or family members or people that they know and care for that have gone through things, or potentially they've gone through things themselves. And they're waking up to the aspect of, oh, we're not invincible and life's going to happen. And I think a lot of people also just work their entire life, and there's a certain numbness to life if you're just working all the time and trying to acquire these things until you're in the position where you've gotten these things and you actually sit down to look around and you're like, whoa, I have man breast, I have a big gut, I have a high cholesterol, I have a high blood pressure. I'm like, damn, I didn't see this happening because I was so focused externally. So right. I think being able to pause and look as to, how are you feeling? What is your body looking like? Does it feel stiff? Is it achy? I feel there's a numbness that people kind of have towards themselves and towards their body as they go through life. I'm curious, when did you guys have that little moment of like looking inside, of being like, hey, I need to change something, or maybe I'm kind of heading in the right direction, but I really need to make a pivot to really focus on this, so that when you do retire, you can enjoy yourself? Because you're right, some people work their whole life and they get at the end, and we had one of my uncles who worked his whole life as a mechanic, and he worked his ass off to be able, and he made great money, was able to enjoy his retirement, and he got diagnosed with cancer 4 months after retiring, and he's dealing with that right now. So I'm curious as to, what was that moment for you guys? Was there like working in the healthcare industry? Was there something specific?
Well, I think being in healthcare industry, but thinking too, I mean, there's so many things in this world that are pretty awful, or I guess, that aren't going well. And, you can focus on all of that and feel like things are so out of control, and have that attitude, fatalistic attitude. It's like, well, that's going to happen, or this bad thing's going to happen, or I could fall and do this or whatever. And it's like, yep, there's a lot of stuff that we can't control, but what can I control? And really start to focus on, well, what can I do not only to make myself a better person, but other things that I can do in my life to help other people to feel better about themselves. And, what impact can I have as an individual on my community? I can't change this policy necessarily, or, politicians or leaders or whatever, but I can change how I decide to show up. I can change how I decide to show up every day. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be my best. I'm going to try to be as, smiley to people and try to bring a little bit of joy when things are really, not joyful. And so I think, paying attention to what we can control, and we can control what we eat. We can control how much we exercise. We can control what information we feed our brains. We can control what kind of media we're looking at or not looking at. And so pay attention to those things, because you really can start to feed yourself, things that are going to nurture you and nurture other people, or you can feed yourself. And I'm not just talking about food. It's you can give yourself a bunch of bad stuff that's going to make you a kind of a crummy person to be around. People don't want to be around you. So I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you, Linda, what was that moment?
I think back when I was doing the original research and read Dr. Furman's book, and realizing that, what I eat makes a difference. And then reading T. Colin Campbell's book, The China Study, looking at that, and a lot of books like that you can turn genes, like cancer genes, on and off in your body. And there's just so much you can control by what you eat and how active you are. And then there's the concept around the blue zones. And that's, another whole side to it too. So I think just looking at that and realizing that, to be present for other people, you need to take good care of yourself. And so, yeah.
And that medical evidence is really compelling. Like I would go to conferences with Linda, and I just remember early on, and I don't remember who it was, but he was showing some angiograms of some patients pre and post changing their lifestyle, their diet.
Dr. Esselstyn.
Dr. Esselstyn. And it was amazing. It's like, that is irrefutable. I mean, she's like, wow, that's not a medical intervention. That's not a medication. That is changing what you eat. And unfortunately, what we've seen too in the healthcare industry is people want to come in and they want somebody to fix them. And they're like, well, you talk about food and like, oh, that's so hard. It's like, well, a bypass is easy. I mean, come on, like a medical intervention, it's expensive, it's painful. Like, how is that better? But so that's been really compelling. And to continue to watch, people that we've, like yourself and others who have social media out there, that you can see these incredible changes and interviewing people change. It's like, there's no going back.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I've had conversations with people that were on the verge of kind of needing some of those surgeries, and they're like, but the insurance pays for it. I'm like, but you're still going to be in pain. You still have to go through that. Yeah, exactly. Somebody's paying for it, but you still have to go through the surgery. Like, you still have to feel, the recovery from it, even though the insurance might be paying for it. People want patchwork, basically. They'll just come in, patch me up, put me back out there, right? Yeah. But they're not solving the core issue. And I think there's an aspect of, you don't know how much it's going to hurt because you've never been through it. Like someone that has had surgery, you ask them to re-go through it, they might be more wary of going back on it, and they're more likely to change their lifestyle. But most people have potentially tried to change their food and like, that was painful. Surgery seems less painful, but they don't know what it involves. There's no like sensation or, memories attached to it. So it's always easier to delay to this thing that you don't know what it's going to feel like. But it feels worse than changing your nutrition, 100%.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to ask about community in terms of like community impact, because usually when I have someone on the podcast that's been in the program, you guys, I think, are the first couple that I've had on as an interview for this show. So you guys are the first one in all the episodes we've ever recorded. Usually I ask about the impact that it's had on the other partner, right? But you guys did this together. And so I'm curious, outside of your household, have you seen any people start to change the way that they're eating or start to ask some questions, which were people that you would hope would ask questions about plant-based eating?
We have, like with friends, I think, so we live in a condominium building now. And so people here, there's a lot of social activities that they do. And so people notice what we do or don't eat. And there's a lot of questions around that. And they make comments like, oh, we see you guys at the gym, or we see you walking around. I mean, so there's been some conversations, and we have always avoided, it's like, nobody wants to be preachy. And, we really are, we want to make sure that we're not coming across as preachy. So, but if somebody has a relationship with us and they invite that conversation, then yes, we will have. And we have had several, and some friends we haven't seen in a long time, and they're just, pretty curious, because again, the differences, we're close in age, but there's some very significant physical differences between us. And our activity levels are very different. And so they ask a lot of questions. And, we've got family members that obviously there's no other family members that are eating whole food plant-based like we are. But I do feel like people are looking towards wanting to improve their health and are willing to have a conversation. But we're not going to try to change anybody.
Yeah, it never works.
No.
Yeah, exactly. No one's responds well to being told what you believe is a lie, right? Like they kind of have to come to that moment themselves. But you both are great leading example of what happens when you actually live this lifestyle properly. And I think people are attracted to greatness, and so they'll ask questions.
I just remember what our daughter said when she went away to college, and this has been quite a while ago, but she wrote us a letter, which was very sweet, that we opened after she went away to college. She had stuck these letters in her clothing so we'd find them later on. But she made a comment in there. It wasn't what you said to do. It was how you lived and how you behaved that, was the lesson for her. So it's, like she was paying attention to that. So in the same vein of, our lifestyle now, it's not going to be what we say to people. It's what people see. How do you show up? Are you happy? Are you healthy? Are you taking care of yourself? And, what are you doing back for the community? That I think is going to draw people to that lifestyle. Nobody gets drawn to somebody standing up on a soapbox screaming in a megaphone on the street corner. That doesn't change anything. So, but
yeah, I haven't had any success doing that. So it's always been get people to lead by example, and then people ask questions. But it's beautiful that she was able to recognize that and write that letter. Because I think it's very obviously it must have felt good to have that letter, but it's always reaffirming of we did the right thing to lead by example.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to ask one last question to wrap up the podcast. We have a lot of members that listen to the episode, just like you guys. So for the people listening, what is a piece of advice for the people in the program that you would have for them to be successful in their transformation?
I think trust the process. I mean, it's hard sometimes, but trusting the process, and, when you go off track, don't wait for the next Monday, the next beginning of the month, but just the next bite kind of thing. And just, and stay the course. There's no shortcuts. We didn't get unhealthy. We didn't, get overweight overnight, and it takes time. And I think sometimes for me, I think my weight loss has been slow, but that's okay. Cause it's, it's going to keep being slow, and good things take time. There's no shortcuts to just positive things. So.
And I think I would say too, to people who don't have the benefit of having a partner like I do, where we're like-minded, they're really not alone. I mean, if you're in this
Yeah.
program, you're not alone. I mean, I don't know how many people you have in the program. And what do you have, like 75 at a time or something? But
we have over 100 active right now.
over
But
100.
in the challenge, there's some people that didn't want to be in it. That's why there's less in the
Sure.
challenge.
But I mean, so there's other people to reach out to. You can get on these calls several times a week with, that are live calls where you get to see and talk to other people and listen to you. And so ask questions your coach. So it's not like you're out there by yourself, even though at home maybe you feel that way. But there are a lot of people, and in your area too, reach out, and there are a lot of plant-based pods that you can find in your community where other people are getting together on a monthly basis, maybe, and doing a potluck or something where you can, meet other people who eat the way that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think, Linda, you guys are going to Oregon, right? I think you posted in a group chat. You guys going to connect with someone up there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of members in different states, and one in Canada, United States, and 20 different countries. So if you guys want to travel to different countries, just post in the group and you'll probably find someone that's going to be in there.
Cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Gary and Linda, I appreciate you both for taking the time to record with me today. It was a pleasure recording with both of you. And I know that the members are going to get a lot of value out of it, and the people listening. For those of you listening, if you are interested in getting a great transformation like Gary and Linda, there's a link down below where you can book your application call. Because of what I shared with Gary and Linda, we filter people before they come into the program because we want to make sure you're ready. And we have a beautiful family. I'm not bringing a bad apple into our group. That is the reason why we do these calls. And Gary and Linda are great apples. So that's what I came into the program.
I could call worse.
Well, we really appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, I'm proud of both of you for doing the work. I know that you wanted this transformation for yourself, but from a coach standpoint, it's beautiful to see you guys doing the work and getting the results. And I know that there's a ripple effect of impact beyond just the two of you, because like you've mentioned, there's people around that are like, you guys look great. What are you doing? Right? Your kids are looking at you. They're like, you're leading by example. So I'm excited for that ripple effect and the fact that you guys are living in a way that is reducing your risk of all these chronic illnesses. Like that's the end goal at the end of the day.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for jumping on. Everyone, thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.